O youth, do not be deceived by your youthfulness. For how many people have died before you and they were young? So fear Allah, my brothers and sisters. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And race to do righteous deeds. Just as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and spend in the way of your Lord from that which Allah has provided for you before death approaches one of you. Before death approaches one of you, and then you want Allah to return you back because that wealth that you had saved, the good deeds that you wanted to do, now you want to go back and do them, but the time has run out for you. So fear Allah, my brothers and sisters, and do those righteous deeds that you know that you need to do before your time runs out, before that which has been written for you overcomes you and it overtakes you. 50,000 years before the creation of the heavens and the earth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had already written your decree for you. Your lifespan, the land that you shall die in, the land that you shall live in, the wealth that you should earn, whether you shall be wretched or whether you shall be happy. Allah has already decreed for you where you shall die and when you shall die. There is no delaying that. So Allah has written that for you. You have seen friends that have died, neighbors that have died, family members that have died. You saw them alive among you. Then their lives were taken. And they were taken from this world. So a time will come when you shall join them in death. When you pass by the graves of the Muslims, that's what you say to them. When you pass by the graves of Ahlul Iman and Ahlul Islam, what do you say? Assalamu alaikum, Ahl al-Diyar. من المؤمنين والمسلمين وإنا إن شاء الله للاحقون أسأل الله لنا ولكم العافية. That's what you say when you go to a graveyard. What are these words that you are uttering? Peace be upon you, O people of this abode, meaning people of this graveyard, peace be upon you, who are believers and Muslims. We shall, Allah willing, be joining you. Indeed, we shall be joining you. Meaning in death we shall be joining you. I ask Allah for us and for you safety and well-being. That's what the Prophet ﷺ taught us in that hadith reported by Muslim and others. Shabab, O youth, do not be deceived by your youthfulness. For how many people have died before you and they were young? O strong one, healthy one, do not be deceived by your health and by your strength. For how many a strong and healthy person has fallen and died? So brothers and sisters, wake up to the reality of death. Wake up to that reality. And the reality of the fact that you are not immortal, you will not live forever in this world. Death will find you out. And you will not be able to resist your appointment with death. You cannot put it off. There is no fortress that you can hide behind except that death will find you out. There is no tall tree that you can climb, no high mountain that you can ascend except that death will come to you. Did death not take your parents and their parents and their parents and your forefathers? Are not the graveyards filled with people, some of whom thought that they could defy death, some of them who thought that they could live for a day longer, or 2 days longer, or a month longer? How many women have become widows, and how many children have been orphaned? This is the reality of death. Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam commanded us, أكثروا ذكر هذه اللذات يعني الموت. The hadith in Tirmidhi, and it is sahih. Increase in the remembrance of the destroyer of pleasures, meaning death. increase in that remembrance, something will come to you and it will destroy those pleasures that you tasted in this world. And that is death. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ said, as he was dying, La ilaha illallah. Indeed, death has its agonies. Death is painful. It has its agonies. And look what he said, La ilaha illallah. There is none that has the right to be worshipped except Allah. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ would say, prompt your dying ones with the kalima La ilaha illallah. Call them to say La ilaha illallah as they're dying. This is the reality, my brothers and sisters. After thinking about the intoxication of death and the agonies of death and the distress of death and the passing away of your lives, think then about the grave and its darkness. It is the first abode of the hereafter. Either it will be for you a garden from the gardens of Jannah, or a pit from the pits of the hellfire. Wal-iyadu billah. So ponder, my brothers and sisters, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from those who reflect upon the reality of our lives.